Alright everyone, it's that time of year. It is the video where we here at Triangle of Truth talk about our favorite comics from 2021. Let's get into it. What's going on everyone? Sean here with Triangle of Truth, and as you heard at the top, I'm here to talk about our favorite comics of 2021. And what makes this edition of it special, at least to me, is not only am I able to talk to you guys about my favorite comics that I've read this year, I was actually able to get with Jay and Jenna and give you a list from all three of us. So I've got a few individual picks from all three of us, and then I've got another list where it was all three of us unanimously agreed that these were the best reads from the year. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. I figure we'll start with me first. I'm the boring one here. Y'all don't really care about me, so I'll get mine out of the way and we'll get to the more exciting stuff. You know what I mean? I'm just kidding. Alright, so first off of my individual picks, I had a chance to read Philadelphia Volume 1. This was one that I had actually been eyeing for a couple of months before I actually picked up the trade. I had seen it, read the solicitation. I was like, all right, that sounds really cool. He's like, I love vampire stuff, but you get a little bit of U.S. history thrown in there. I thought that was a pretty cool concept, with who the villain is, which I'm not going to spoil that for you. If you haven't read it, I really want you to get down to your local comic shop and check it out. But basically, if you like vampire stories and you're a big fan of the city of brotherly love in Philadelphia, you got to check it out. It's awesome. I'm hoping to pick up Volume 2 here soon because I want to say they're up to 17 or 18 issues, so they're well into a Volume 3 at this point. But yeah, Volume 1 was awesome. I can't wait to read the rest of it. Definitely going to try to pick it up at the beginning of next year, and I'm sure as good as this one was, it'll probably be on my list for next year. My next one is one that actually was a little bit more of a recent release, and it's from Frank Gogol. It's called Unborn. If you are a fan of kind of like Aliens meets Power Rangers with a little bit of Starship Troopers mixed in, at least that's how I describe it, then you are going to love this series. I believe it is a 4-issue miniseries, and Frank did an awesome job with the writing, and his art team knocked it out of the park. One of the coolest looking books in general, but as far as sci-fi goes, I absolutely loved it. So definitely recommend that you check that out. Next is one that, if you follow the channel regularly, this was one that I reviewed issue 1 earlier in the year. And it's written by Christopher Charlton, and it's called Black of Heart. This one is so freaking cool. If for no other reason than it's an early mid-1900s murder story with some of the coolest art, but it's a unique art concept. So what I mean by that is when you get a chance to get the trade, the book gets more and more colorful with each issue. Basically, it starts out like issue 1 is mostly black and white. The only thing in color is a yellow cab, which is I take it back. It's a yellow cab and a barn on a farm. But these are the things that are highlighting the serial killer, who the detective in the story is trying to find. And as the books progress, more and more things come into color until finally you get into the last issue where the whole book is for the most part in color. And it's a cool concept that I would never have thought to do myself if I was a creator. So definitely kudos to Chris and his team on a unique concept and comboed with an amazing murder mystery serial killer type story. If that is your jam, you definitely need to check it out. It's got a bit of a noir feel to it, and I love it. And the last one on my list for just myself is one that I'm really glad that I caught while it was running on Kickstarter, and that is Midnight Highway. And I caught the campaign for issue 2, and the cool part was Mike Tiner, who's the writer for the series also offered a tier where I could get issue 1, so I wasn't just getting issue 2 and then wondering what happened in the first one. So I got issues 1 and 2 and read them immediately, which, by the way, if you check through our videos here on the channel, I do have an unboxing / review video, so you kind of get to see a little bit of everything. It was a really, really cool campaign, awesome looking book, badass story. But keep your eye out for Mike Tiener and Bad Bug Media. They're going to do, I think, big things coming up. They released countless badass books this year. There's actually another one on this list from them. They've got another one that we're waiting to come in probably sometime in the spring, I'd imagine, called Periwinkle. That looks good. They've got a new series called Ragnarok that's fixing to launch, and just countless others. I mean, they hit it out of the park, and I just think they're going to be one of those publishers to keep an eye on, because they're just going to, I think, just continue to grow and expand, and then, you know, next thing you know, they're going to be this just a big name, in my opinion. That's my thoughts. You can call it bias if you want, but that's what I think. So moving along, we're going to hit Jenna's list. She actually has another 4 for us to check out. So one that she was really, really excited to read is Billy the Kid, which is actually, it's a very cool book. Think Wild West, but with anthropomorphic animal characters. The main character that you see on all the covers is, you got rabbits, goats. It's awesome. And if that's kind of your jam, you will really, really, really like this series. So I definitely recommend getting down to your local comic shop, checking that one out. Another one from her is from Bad Idea, which is, we all know, Bad Idea was a really cool concept, and they come out with a lot of good stuff this year. So her favorite of the bunch is called The Lot. Now, I personally haven't read this one yet, but you can trust me when I say that her and Jay both highly recommend this series, and it can't be anything but good. They rarely make just bad picks. Trust me when I say that. Moving along, another one, and this is kind of one that we all do really enjoy, but Crossover. I realize Crossover is one that began in 2020, but throughout this year, that series has really, really ramped up. So it is definitely one I can understand it would be on Jenna's list. Just because if you're just a fan of comics in general, there is something in there for everyone as far as the characters, and it's amazed me at who the team has been able to get permission to use. And then, of course, there are some that I would never have thought of that have made appearances. Not all of them are necessarily characters, too. Some of them have been weapons, you know, like, small spoiler, like Valifax. If you've read God Country from Donny Cates, Valifax is a talking sword that is kind of the thing that the whole story is revolved around in God Country. So for me, when I read that, that was actually something that I got really stoked about and kind of jumped out of my chair. So, for better or worse, if you are just a fan of comics, you have to read Crossover. It is literally, as the title says, it is a giant comic crossover. And last but certainly not least on Jenna's list is the Alien Marvel run. I'm not going to lie, myself, I was a little worried with Marvel buying out the Alien franchise that they might try to mellow it out a little bit from what it has been over the years. That said, from what I understand, that has not happened at all. Jenna's favorite, probably movie property, comic property overall, is probably Aliens. So she has literally every single issue of the run so far in the house. So I know if I want to get caught up on it, I don't have very far to go except for the shelf that is this way here on the camera. So definitely not something that I have to go far to read, but I definitely will check it out. I have not actually read any of the Aliens comics. I know, bad Sean. But that said, I've become a bigger fan of the movies as I've gotten older, so I'm sure the comics will expand on the lore and I'll love it even more. Okay, so the last of our individual list is Jay, and he has got some very cool and very maybe not so well-known titles that are on here, or I could be wrong. These might be titles that you all know. Let me know down in the comments. But he's got some cool ones, and these are ones that I know for a fact. He constantly talked about them before they came out. He got them, and he's raved about them since they came out. So that should tell you something about where they're at, because he's not the type that really will gush over a title. So if he does, at least for him, that it had to be really good and something that really captured him. So first on his list is one called Gods of Brutality. Not going to lie, I actually have not read this one. So if you have, jump down in the comments, tell me how good it is. He can tell me all day long, but I want to hear from you. Let me know in the comments if you've read it and how good you thought it was, or how good you might not have thought it was, and let's have a nice friendly chat about it. The next one on his list is Nice House on the Lake. If you are, of course, you like your horror films, your jump, as I understand, that's kind of what this is. Again, another one that I have not actually read. None of his are actually titles that I've read, to be perfectly honest. But this is one that, at least from the cover, I know I'm interested in reading it, and I think we've got all the issues around here somewhere. If it's not on the shelf over here, it's somewhere around. We've got comics all over. You just can't see it because they're all off camera. But it is definitely one of those kind of stories that I think if you're a fan of your horror and your scary movies, that you'll really enjoy this one. All right, moving along. His third one is called Marjorie Finnegan, Temporal Criminal. This is one where not only have I not read it, I actually really don't know anything about the series at all. And I wish I did, because that way I could tell you a little more. But again, this is one that he has read, he has constantly talked about since reading it. We're not exactly sure what's going on. As I understand, I think one or two of the issues, I take it back, 2 or 3 of the issues have come out, and then we haven't seen anything for a bit. So don't know if it's on a hiatus, or of course, with everything that's going on, just a little bit of an issue getting it out from the printer. But this is a series that he has really, really enjoyed so far, and he's excited to get the next issue. And then finally from his list is a series called Hotel, which actually recently just started volume 2. This is another really, really kick-ass kind of horror scary series, and I mean it was definitely one of the best books that I've seen from this year, and from the publisher in general. I probably think that it's one of their best as well. So if you've read all of volume 1, let us know your thoughts down in the comments. Have you picked up issue 1 of volume 2 that just came out? And if not, what are you doing? Run down to your local comic shop and grab it. It's Christmas. Get yourself a Christmas present. Treat yourself. So, alright. So, terrible segue out of that. But now we're moving into the list where this is from all 3 of us. These are comics that all 3 of us unanimously just agreed these were some of the best titles that we have read this year. And I actually have 8 sitting here, which, for anybody who might not know us to all be like, all 8 of these were amazing, says a lot, because we all have a very diverse and different taste in comics. So you could talk to us and you will definitely get some, as you can see from our list here, very different things that we'll tell you are our favorite. So I thought it was very fun that we were able to have this discussion, and it was a very fun discussion, because when you're just like, oh yeah, blah blah blah, and then when you remember what the title was about, you're like, oh yeah. Now granted, most of these we all knew. As soon as we said the names, we were all like, yes, and that's why these are on that list. Okay, so that said, we're going to jump right into it. These are really in no particular order, except when I get to what I think was my personal favorite of the entire year, I'll tell you. I'm not going to speak for them necessarily, but I will definitely speak for myself when I mention that one. So let's jump right into the final 8. So the first one that I've got is one called Immortal Era from our good friend Edward Davis. This is one that is up to 5 issues now, and if you are a fan of like dystopian storylines, especially future storylines, this is one for you. But Edward also throws in a bit of a supernatural twist with this, which that's really what drew me in after I got done reading the first couple of issues. I was like, all right, cool, dystopian story, let's see what they got. And then he throws in that little bit of a supernatural, and I was like, okay, all right, this is cool. This is so cool. So I am definitely excited for him to get issue 6 out, which will basically, I think, complete his first story arc. He has a lot of story left to tell. I can't remember how many issues he says he has planned out so far, but I know he's got well into at least volume 2 ready to go as far as the storyline. So keep your eye out for that one. He runs his Kickstarters here. I hope he has one starting at the beginning of the year. I know issue 5 just ended a couple of months ago. We got that in. I'm sure there's an unboxing here on the channel as well from Jay, so check that out. He'll show you everything because Edward always kills it. I mean, his comics are some of the nicest, not to mention some of the cool stretch goals and other things that he includes are all awesome as well. So it has been a very cool journey to follow, and it's cool to see Edward getting the recognition that he's been getting. I know at a recent Comic-Con, he got voted as one of the best indie series that were there. He's received awards from other YouTubers for being best indie series, and it's all well deserved. So, congratulations to you, Edward, from all of us. It is well deserved. You definitely have one kick-ass story here going, brother. All right, next one on our list is called Made in Korea, and this is a very cool story when it comes to AI, and for all of us here, it's one that kind of hits close to home just because of where the story takes place. It's a area where we are all really familiar with, given where we grew up and everything. So take that for what you will, if that's a bit of a spoiler as to where the Triangle of Truth team is at. But it is a very cool, awesome series that I think everybody should check out because it's one of those that it really makes you think about things in certain ways. So definitely get to your local comic shop, check that one out. Alright, so the next one on the list is one that I actually just got to read within about the last week, but for me, it was so good that when it came up during our conversation, I definitely agreed with Jay and Jenna on it. That is called Gaslighters. There's, I believe, only 2 issues out of it right now, but it is an awesome story. The main character, Zoe Chase, is basically like a cross between Harley Quinn and Deadpool, but she's a zombie, and it's so freaking awesome. I loved every moment of issues 1 and 2 as I got to read it, and I had a ball. Just everything about the way the story is drawn, the story that's being told, her smart aleckness as a character. I don't even know if that's a word, but I just made it up. Everything in general was so awesome. And as I've said a couple of times, I also love the fact that it is a female-led story, and I like getting that kind of thing because to me sometimes there aren't enough of them, and so I like the fact that I get a strong female character with this one. So that's from me personally. Just take that for what you will. Alright, so the next one on our list comes from Mad Cave, which if you haven't heard of Mad Cave Studios, you have got to check them out. Not only is the book I'm about to mention awesome, they have a crap ton of amazing stories, and some of them are done in ways that, they take maybe a story, a type of story that you've heard of, but they're just different, and I like it, and I love it. So the one that made our list, though, from them is called Nottingham. If you are a fan of Robin Hood, you have to read this because this is Robin Hood from the sheriff's point of view. And in this one, you actually have to question who really is the bad guy. Is it the sheriff or is it actually Robin Hood? Like, it is one of the twistiest, it is probably the coolest version of Robin Hood as far as stories go, in my opinion. And that's from having seen, the old Disney movies, the books. You have Robin Hood Men in Tights, Robin Hood Prince of Thieves, all that. The only one I haven't seen movie-wise is the one from a few years ago with Taron Egerton. I really do want to see that and hope that that's as badass as it looked, at least in the previews. But this needs to be made into either a series or a movie, because this is a concept and a point of view that really needs to be told, not only in comics, but visually on screen, I think. So get down to your local comic shop or head over to Mad Cave's website. Get you the first, I want to say there's 5 issues of this out now. Check it out. You will not be disappointed. Trust me. All right. So we're kind of getting down to the nitty gritty here. I know you probably thought we didn't have any of the big boys on here, but we do. One from DC actually is on this list, and of course it's because it's it's a zombie story. We love our zombies. That is Task Force Z. I know there's only 3 issues out, but this is definitely, this and DC versus Vampires are probably some of the best stories that I've seen from DC this year, as far as stuff that may not be like Future State, what is it, Infinite Frontiers, the other one, you know, and all that stuff, which those storylines in their own right were completely awesome. DC does great when they do their big events. I will definitely give them that. But these 2 stories just, for us, stole the show. So check it out. Both Task Force Z, and I'll give you a bonus, DC versus Vampires. Both have 3 issues out now. Or actually, I take that back. DC versus Vampires, I believe, has issue 3 coming out next week. So within the next week, you'll have 6 issues between both of these series to check out. So head on out. I'm sure with it being DC, you'll be able to get it from your LCS. If not, definitely pre-order it in case they aren't able to get it, because again, be patient. There are paper shortages, and just know that it is not the comic shop's fault. They do the best they can with what they're able to be sent from their distributor. So show them some love, pre-order the comic if you're able to, if they aren't able to get it in with the normal shipment. That way then you can continue to show your support for them. That's kind of my advertisement, if you will. Just support your local comic shops, show them some love, but also show them a lot of patience, and know that with the paper shortage and whatnot with the printers, it's not their fault. They're doing the best they can. All right, I'm getting into the final 3 here. These are ones that for sure stuck out to us. All 3 are ones that we have reviewed. We have multiple copies of, because there were so many awesome covers, you name it. One of them, we even have this snazzy shirt right here, so that should give you a hint as to what's coming. So with that said, Stray Dogs. If you want a story that will tear your heart out and then also make you want to murder someone, this is it. It is, think of it as like a horror murder story, but through the eyes of a dog. And it is really cool the way Trish Forstner and the entire team explored that side of things, with using dog psychology instead of having the dogs, but they still talk and act a lot more like humans. So it made for things to be kind of broken, but as they were able to bring things in, it made sense. It was very gut-wrenching. I still say that the end of issue, I think it was 3, where they took out Rusty, that ripped my heart out. And I absolutely hated the villain of the entire series from that point on. And I wanted to jump in the book and get rid of the guy myself. That is how invested we got in that story. So definitely, if you have not, there's trades. There are so many awesome variant covers. There are, of course, you got your cover A's. There are like B cover variants that are all horror movie homage covers, you know, like Children of the Corn and stuff like that. So check them all out. Various comic shops got really, really cool exclusive only covers. There's a Goosebumps cover, which if you're a 90s kid like me, you loved Goosebumps. That was one of the coolest covers to check out. So yeah, you've got to check out Stray Dogs. I really think this is one that we all highly recommend, and you will definitely enjoy it. All right. Next one. I already showed you the shirt, so you probably have a good idea, if you are a follower of this channel, what I'm about to talk about. Pocus Hocus. Absolutely loved it. So amazing. And when you consider that the writers, Alan Dunford and Will Radford, this is the very first comic they've ever written, You would not guess that based on how good the story is. And of course, they've got a badass creative team behind them with Brian Blondo, Jason Smith, and Dave Lentz, superstar letterer that's on like every book that we own. I know that's a slight exaggeration, but it feels like he is. But seriously, for it being their foray into the comic universe, they have absolutely killed it. The best way to describe it is it involves actual real magic. The main character, Pocus, wants to get real magic, so he sells his soul to a demon in return for getting actual magic powers. But he does all of this to impress his father, who dies before he can really even use it. So now the rest of the storyline is Pocus trying to get with this demon to get his soul back and get the magic powers taken away, which apparently can only be done if he can guess the demon's name. Now, as much as I have talked with Alan, I do not know if they've decided on a name for the demon yet. Jay probably might know because he has talked to Alan and Will more than I have. But for all I know, it may just be they decide to spin a bottle and it's like, Chuck! I don't know. I'm not going to lie. But it has been a great story so far. Issue 3 is actually fixing to come to Kickstarter, I believe, in late January, from what I understand in talking with them. So expect us to start pushing that really, really, really hard because they're just the coolest group of people in general. I mean, again, thank you guys for this shirt. This was one of the most amazing and coolest gifts that we did not expect. So I've made sure I've worn this thing, but I've also made sure I kept it pristine and clean and everything. But when it comes up on Kickstarter, we will let you guys know. They also offer really cool packages that allow you to get issues 1 and 2. So not only will you be able to get 3, you'll get the whole story up to this point. Now, this is the other book on the list I was telling you about earlier that is under the Bad Bug Media banner. Again, they're going to have a huge year. They've got Periwinkle. The campaign just ended. That book will get, I'm sure, sometime in late spring. They've got Ragnarok that's fixing to come out on Kickstarter, also in January, I believe. They've got Midnight Highway, Pocus Hocus. They also have about 4 other series that I can remember off the top of my head that you can buy as well on their website. And the cool part is when they do a Kickstarter campaign, they offer media bundles where you can get pretty much all of these series as well in full. So and it's worth it. I mean, you can spend maybe $50 and you'll have just about their entire catalog. And in my opinion, I have not read anything bad from them yet. So it's worth the investment in my opinion, because I think that they're going to be one of those companies that just blows up over the next few years. All right, segueing into the very last comic I have to talk to you guys about today. This is the one I have been on record on Facebook. I've said it to both writers, the letterer, and the artist. I've said it to the entire creative team. This, for me, is comic of the year. This is my favorite comic. I had the most fun reading it, you name it. And I'm talking about Good Boy. Now, as far as in local comic shops, I believe issue 2 might have just came out. We got spoiled. We backed the Kickstarter, and so we have been able to read the entire first arc, which is issues 1 through 3. And we got the ash can for the first issue of volume 2 that hopefully should come out sometime next year. We'll just give you the basic pitch. If you like John Wick, you'll love this book. But it's a reverse John Wick. So instead of the dog being killed and John going back for vengeance, this time around it is John gets killed and his dog Flint is out for vengeance. But this is definitely a little more gory, a lot more humor, and a lot just wild overall. It is one of the coolest, most entertaining things that I've ever read, period, in all of comics. And I just, over the first arc, it's been amazing, but the cool part is, yeah, it's got the John Wick factor through issues 1 through 3, but then it really starts going into its own, starting, I think, in volume 2. So I can't wait to see, because yes, I have read the Ashcan. I'm not going to spoil that for any of you, but I can't wait to see where they take the character and where the story goes from here after the big John Wick factor comes out, because Garrett and Dr. Christie are two amazing storytellers, and together with the way they write, it really allows them to draw a story out. I think Garrett kind of adds some of the humor. Dr. Christie adds depth, although I'd say that, but Garrett has actually a lot of really, really badass stories that have a lot of depth to them. But in the combination of the writing between the two, you can really see where they complement each other. Just take it for what you will. But they are both absolutely amazing writers with, I don't even know how many other books are out right now. Broken Gargoyles is one Dr. Christie is on. The Warhorns, Blind Justice is one to keep an eye out for from Garrett. You name it. There are a lot of comics that the two of them have been involved in the last 2 years at least. And they're only going to just start blowing up even more. We have, to put it mildly, we have 5 or 6 of the Ashcans for Volume 1. We have 3 metal covers, 3 or 4 metal covers for Good Boy, plus various other just regular LCS covers. I mean, we've collected the crap out of this thing so far, and it's never been disappointing. I'll see if I can find it, and maybe we'll get a picture up here. But the metal covers we got in the Patreon subscription that we do with Garrett for this month for Good Boy, for me at least, Garrett, I'm not going to lie, Dr. Christie, tears. Those were my 2 favorite covers, period. And when I say period, I don't mean just the 2021. They're my 2 favorite covers ever on a comic. I absolutely love them. So, like I said, I'll do what I can to try and get pictures of them so that we can show them to you here on screen before we end this video. So, that said, that is everything. That is all 20 that we kind of all just had a discussion about. From all 3 of us here to every single person in the comic industry, creators, your publishers, editors, artists, you name it, thank you. This year has definitely been a tough one in a lot of ways for all 3 of us. And just know that your comics, your creations have really helped us to be able to escape and get through some of these rough times. We've all lost some people. Of course, we all who follow the channel are aware. Our dog had the back injury in the middle of this year. He's actually doing really well now. He's able to walk. He's actually able to run a little bit. So he's definitely beaten the odds. And everybody who donated to get him the braces that he has, that are the reason why he is able to have fun and basically be himself again, just know that meant more to us than you will ever be able to repay you for. But yeah, so everybody in the comic industry, thank you. Thank you again. We look forward to supporting all of you in 2022 and beyond. With that said, this is my last video for 2021. I hope everyone's had a wonderful holiday season. I hope you all have a great new year, and I'll see you guys in 2022. Later, Tots.